Greetings friends, Sleepy here, and welcome to a new discussion video. Today's video and topic is all about modern gaming, the decline of physical media, small print runs, and the digital-only future. So there's just some topics here I wanted to talk about that deals with modern gaming, give you guys my thoughts on them, my opinions, what I like about modern gaming, what I don't like about modern gaming, the trends that I'm seeing in gaming as far as physical media goes. I mean, it's even with movies as well, and music and stuff, like getting the small print runs that we receive for physical, and then how our focus in modern gaming is transitioning more to a digital footprint versus having like physical. So that's the main topic I wanted to talk about today, and I want to discuss with you guys. I love having discussions with you guys, so feel free to leave your guys' thoughts as a comment, and it'll let me know your guys' thoughts on the stuff we talk about today. If maybe this is one of those topics that you feel you would like to film a video response so that you can go into more detail about it, because maybe a comment just isn't enough for you, I would encourage you to film the video responses. I would love to check out your video response. I just ask that you please let me know about your video response. That way I can check it out, and I will post a link to your video as a comment so other people can check it out as well. I always love watching your guys' video response. Several of you guys have done those for me over the years, and I always love watching them. It's really great. And I just like getting different perspectives, because we don't always think the same. All of us don't have the same opinions or thoughts on stuff, especially when it comes to gaming, and it's always nice to find people with different opinions and have just wonderful discussions. That's why I love doing these discussion videos. I love having you guys participate in them, so feel free to leave a comment or film a video response. Now, I did write down stuff I wanted to talk about on this piece of paper here, just so I don't forget, because I've done that in the past where I'll film a video and then I'll upload it and be like, oh yeah, I never talked about that one thing I wanted to mention. It's like, well, I don't really feel like refilming the video, which I've had to do that before, and it just becomes a pain in the ass to have to do that. So this way I can kind of pay attention and talk about some different topics without forgetting about them, and then I don't go too far off in a tangent. It can happen sometimes, and lose your train of thought, that kind of thing. So that's what I got this. So occasionally you see me looking down there to remind myself of some of the different topics, but overall, I have really been enjoying modern gaming. I did get an Xbox Series X in March this year. My brother gave me his old Series X as he's transitioned away from console gaming. He mainly just focuses on PC, which he really loves. He's got the Game Pass that he has on there and Steam and stuff. And my brother's not really a collector anymore, so he's not big into collecting physical copies of games. He's somebody that just prefers to be able to play a game, beat it, and then he'll move on. If it's one he really loves, he might replay it again down the road. But he's somebody that a lot of games he plays, he beats them, and he's done with them. Now, he's done that with some with his physical games, too, in the past, as he's donated a lot of physical copies to me. After he beat them, he's like, I played it once, I'm done with it, I'm moving on. And he also likes to mainly focus on more modern games. That's what he really plays a lot today. So he doesn't do a whole lot of old retro game collecting. If he does play them, he has emulators and stuff on his PC to play some of the old games. Or me, you guys know I'm a huge fan of physical games. I have a massive collection of physical games from Atari 2600 all the way up to my Xbox Series X. And I just love having my physical copies over digital copies. Now, I do own a lot of digital games. Many of them I got for free from being a member of Xbox Live Gold. I've had that subscription service since it launched. It was, I think 2002, I think Xbox Live first had come out. So I've been with them for like 20 years. So it's crazy how long Xbox Live Gold has been around, which that's actually just changed, which we'll also talk about here in a little bit. But I do have like 400 digital games, and some of them I only own as long as I have the gold subscription, but a lot of them they gave me to keep, like Xbox original games, Xbox 360 games. I physically own a ton of those. I've also bought a lot of digital games for Xbox One titles, a couple of Series X ones, but those I got because of different sales and DLC and stuff that I've bought, which I've loved DLC. We'll be talking about that as well, so... But first off, I wanted to talk about just like, we're transitioning a lot into digital only. And Microsoft has been really big and adamant about this. As people had that leak this year where they leaked stuff they were talking about, and they're releasing a Series X that's going to be a discless version as well. As Microsoft wants to move to just having their cloud-based gaming and their subscription service, which is the Game Pass, which my brother loves Game Pass. It's a great tool, and it's a great thing for him. I know a lot of people love Game Pass because it allows them to play games that they might not ever want to buy, and you pay a subscription fee every month to access Game Pass, and then you get access to like 100-some games, and it can be a great service for those who love to use it and utilize it. But for me personally, I just don't like subscription services. I don't like having to pay $15, $20 a month to access games, because there may be some times I might go an entire month or two without even touching my Xbox Series X, and might want to focus on playing PlayStation 4 or play an old game or something. And so I wouldn't want to be paying money for something that I'm not really using and utilizing fully. You know, I work a full-time job. I'm married. I also have a son. I've got, you know, friends, and I don't always have the time to game. And so for me, it just doesn't make sense to pay for a Game Pass subscription service that I might not be using. You know, it's just really a waste of money when I can have a physical copy that I can then play anytime I feel like it. But I can understand those who do love having Game Pass because they're able to play so many different games and they don't have to buy them. So I think it's a great service that they have, but I like being able to have the option of having my physical copies of games like Terminator Resistance here than just having the digital only. You know, I like being able to have options, but sadly Microsoft wants to take these physical ones and do away with them and just do digital only so that they have more control over it. And at that point, you know, you can't sell your digital games, you can't trade them in, you can't give it to a buddy or anything. You know, you're just stuck with what it is. Sometimes too with the pricing, which other people have mentioned, is, you know, these physical copies, I do know they cost money to make the plastic, print the disc. Sometimes they have instruction booklets, but most of them have gotten rid of that these days. So I understand that this costs more money, but I'm sure people who collect physical like myself would be fine with if we paid a little bit more money for a physical copy, but the digital copies were cheaper. But that's never the case. You know, you'll have a digital deluxe version of Far Cry 6, and it'll still be like $100-some. It's just for all the digital content that comes with it. You know, it's basically like the collector's edition, but it's a digital version of it. And I can understand the collector's editions for games when you get them. You know, they come with all this extra packaging. They come with DVDs and bonus stuff. I can understand why they warrant the price increase. But, you know, if we have digital copies of these games, I think they should be at like $10, $15 cheaper, because they are saving money by not having to produce discs or plastic cases and the artwork or anything and ship it. But they never pass that savings on to the consumer for us. You know, they still release them at the full price, a full $60, $70, $80, $100 price tags for digital copies, and I think they should be cheaper. But Microsoft, Sony, and them want to maximize the amount of profits, because at the end of the day, remember, these companies care about making money. Money is what they care about. You know, I might tell you they care about you as a consumer and a gamer, but they really don't. They just care about making money. If they weren't making money, you wouldn't even have any Xbox games, PlayStation games, Nintendo games to play at all. So I really wish that digital games would be cheaper. Now, there are sales that do happen a lot, because I have bought some digital games because of the DLC they came with, or because they were on a big sale. Like, I remember I bought a big Batman Arkham collection, even though I own them physically. They had a huge, like, 90% off sale. And there's all sales throughout the year. You know, they'll have like a Halloween sale, they'll have a Thanksgiving sale, Black Friday, Christmas sale, Easter sale. I mean, throughout the weeks of the year, you know, you'll notice different sales. Like, I notice a lot of them on Microsoft, and sometimes publishers will have like Activision 80% off publisher sale, and there's a lot of games you can get that way with a discount, which is awesome. But there are also times too where you'll look at some of these digital copies of games, like someone brought up about Madden and some of the older Call of Duties. They're still $30 and $40, but if you buy a physical copy of that game, you can get it for like $3 or $4. But if you go on there for a digital one, they still want $30 for it. It's like, what the hell? Why would I want to pay $30 for a 15-year-old game? So, and I've noticed that for some PlayStation 3 physical digital games, some PlayStation 4 digital ones, some Xbox 360 digital ones. You know, they have a lot of sales for games, but but at the same time, you'll find ones that aren't on sale, and you can buy them physically cheaper if you go to like a game store, GameStop or something, eBay, or, you know, you can get them a little cheaper that way. So I think that's kind of stupid that there's some old games that are priced really high that I've wanted to buy before. I'm like, whoa, I'm not paying $30 for that. I'll just wait till I can find a physical copy of it, because the hell with that. And sometimes they put it on sale and sometimes they don't. I do love DLC. You know, I think that is really great when they can extend the games that you're playing by adding new content, and I can understand them charging money for it because they want to be able to breathe more life into their game and make more money off of you. But as long as the DLC is worth it, you know, I'll definitely purchase it. So let's see. The next one is with this is talking about, like, you know, Microsoft next year, I think it's the end of July or June, you know, they're going to be shutting down the Xbox 360 marketplace. And so all that digital content, sadly, is going to be gone unless it's still a game that's backwards compatible with the Xbox One, Xbox Series console. Now, those games you'll be able to still download, but there's still thousands of games that you're going to lose access to if you don't buy them. Now, they said that as long as you own it, you'll be able to re-download it, but that's as long as they keep the servers up for that stuff. You know, someday that could be gone as well, and that's why I like having my physical copies. At least I have the game that I can install and play. Of course, there's updates and patches and stuff we'll get to in a moment here, but you have those issues as well. So with them shutting that down, you know, there's some digital indie games, digital titles that were only ever released digitally for the 360 that if you don't buy them now, you're going to lose access to them. And there's been games and stuff that have been delisted over the years for various issues, licensing issues, companies going out of business, whatever it is. We've already lost access to some games. You know, Nintendo shut down the 3DS and Wii U eShop earlier this year, and they mentioned that in April of 2024, they're going to shut down all the online support, so you won't even be able to play games multiplayer on the 3DS or Wii U online anymore. So if there's any online Mario Kart, you won't be able to play that online anymore because they're shutting down the servers for it, and you'll only be able to do it locally. And I'm wondering if that's going to even impact, like, patches for the games, because you already can't buy the DLC anymore. If you don't own the DLC for, like, Pikmin 3 I have for Wii U, I didn't buy the DLC in time, poop. No more access to it. Now, there are people who are backing up content, and if you mod your console, you can access this content. There's people that are doing that. But for the average consumer, you know, that's not really going to be an option, because not everybody wants to go through and mod their console or has the knowledge or wants to take the time. You know, they just want to be able to play a game. So your average person is going to lose access. And so once Microsoft shuts down the 360 store, all that digital DLC content, if you don't own, is going to be gone. You won't be able to download anymore. You won't be able to download digital-only titles, and you're going to lose access to a tremendous amount of games and content, which is just really sad. But, you know, the Xbox 360 has been out since 2005, so it's been out for like 18 years now, and I can understand them wanting to shut down the servers because it costs them money that they just don't want to pay. But it's just really sad. You know, I love the Xbox 360, and it's sad seeing, you know, the system shutting down. Now, what that's going to do, however, is going to have an unfortunate impact on physical copies. Is it's going to raise the prices for Xbox 360 titles, because some of those games, the only way you're going to be able to play them is if you don't have them digitally, is you buy a physical copy of it. And so those physical copies are going to go up in value. So I definitely see Xbox 360 collecting taking off in the next year and a half, 2 years, and prices, I expect them to go up as that marketplace gets closer to shutting down. People will get into panic mode, and people will start buying certain titles and stuff after it goes off. And you can see, probably will see a lot of prices going up, which is such a shame. But unfortunately, it's inevitable with gaming and stuff. You know, like will the patches still be on the 360 marketplace once it's shut down? You know, we'll be able to still update our games or not, because some of these games do need updates and stuff. You know, it'll be interesting to see that. Let's see our next topic here. You know, we talked about Microsoft's plan for a digital-only future. You know, in that leak, they talked about it, that's what they want. They're going to release a discless Xbox Series X. Originally, they only had a Series S, which I thought was stupid. They should have just released two versions of the Series X, a disc version and a discless version. And they talked about possibly releasing a extra drive that you could buy for the other version as well. But, you know, who knows if that's going to come around and happen or not. Now, here's what they talk about Xbox Live Gold. So Microsoft, just with this September, I think it was August or September, they officially retired Xbox Live Gold, and they changed it to basically just like the Game Pass Core or something, where my Xbox Live Gold now is actually like a cheaper version of their Game Pass, and I do have access to a handful of titles, and it's still the same $60 a year, but you don't have all the extra perks that you get with Game Pass. And so it was sad to see Xbox Live Gold go away, but I knew that they were eventually going to do that because their big focus is on the Game Pass and that subscription service. So Gold is officially gone now. You no longer get the free games that they gave out. If you didn't get them when you had the Xbox Live Gold, you're just shit out of luck. You'll never get those free games anymore, which is a shame. They still should keep that up, but, you know, it is what it is. Here was another one interesting. I just saw a video about this from a random channel that Microsoft sent out an update that disables third-party controllers and accessories that are not approved by them. So when you plug in like third-party controllers, which I don't recommend using third-party controllers and stuff because they're usually pretty shitty, but if they're not officially licensed, they are no longer going to work after a certain point. There's an update coming out, and it will, when it's plugged in, it'll say, "This is an unrecognized device, cannot be used. Please plug in an officially licensed Microsoft product." There are some third-party people, controller makers and stuff, that are licensed that you can still use, like Hyperkin and stuff, but there are some that are not, and I just think it's kind of shitty because, again, here it is Microsoft dictating what accessories and stuff you can use for your game console. And it's really scary thinking about how much control they really have. All they have to do is release an update. You know, if they wanted to say, hey, your hard drive is no longer compatible with our Series X, they could just send out an update and they could take that away and boop, it's gone. You have to buy my $300 hard drive that says Xbox on it, and that's the only one I allow. So hopefully they don't do any kind of shit like that, but, you know, they do have that kind of power, and I just thought that was kind of shitty. We had talked about the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U being shut down with Nintendo. I did want to talk about the Series X a little bit here. You know, I do love the Xbox Series X. I think it's an amazing console. I love the graphics and stuff on it. One thing that was really annoying, though, is the hard drive size, because of being, you know, what was the 500 gigs they launched with, a terabyte they launched with. It's just, it's never like enough storage. You know, I can only have like a handful of games, maybe 10, 12 games, depending on how big they are, installed at a time. And now a lot of Series X games do require them, which I think I got, like, here's one, like Dead Space here. It has to be installed on the internal hard drive, the solid state drive, because it needs the faster storage. Now, you can buy Microsoft proprietary game cards, they plug into it, and you can use that data. But this game will not run off of a hard drive. Now, there are some Series X games I have found, not all of them. If you play a game, it'll say, this game cannot be played from this hard drive. It must be installed on the internal hard drive because it needs the faster storage. And so there are games and stuff that require, like Dead Space here, does need to be installed on the main hard drive. But there are other Xbox Series X games I have played where I played them off my hard drive. Because on my hard drive, I have all my Xbox One titles, my Xbox 360, and original Xbox games that don't require it, which is great. I love having access to my games through a hard drive because you just don't have enough space. That's one of my biggest gripes is, you know, they launched these consoles with too small of hard drives. Like, they should have been launched with at least 2, 3, 5 terabytes would be ideal, because these new games that are coming out, like Cyberpunk, you know, it's like a 80, 100 gig game, and then you add DLC in it, you're getting 140, 150 gigs. I know the Call of Duty games have a lot. Some of these sports games have big, large installs. And so, you know, you only have so much hard drive space, and then you have to uninstall games. Now, you can move a Series X game, which I've had to do because I only have so much space on my internal hard drive. Like, I moved the Harry Potter Hogwarts game. That was like 80 gigs. I moved it to my external hard drive. it says I won't be able to play it, but at least it's still on there and I can transfer back when I want to actually play the game again. But I just hate the limitations of the hard drive space, because these new games that they release, they keep getting larger and larger. You get more intricate worlds, bigger graphics and videos and music and stuff. You know, they take up a lot of space. So I don't think that we won't ever see like 300 gig games. Like, I think we could eventually see 300, 500 gigabyte games in the future, maybe even a terabyte down the road, maybe with the like 10th gen, you know, the next, whatever the next Xbox and Sony PlayStation 6 and whatever the consoles are. I could see them being even larger in those days, as the graphics just keep getting bigger. It takes up more space, and it's going to need larger and larger hard drives. So hard drive space is such an annoying issue with modern gaming. You know, you have to, I got to uninstall this game so I can play this other one. And that's one thing that's really plagued me. And you can buy those proprietary cards that plug into your Series X, but they're just really, really expensive still. You know, they haven't gotten to like a super cheap, affordable option. And Microsoft doesn't allow third-party people to make them, because they want to keep that monopoly and making money on it. So that's one thing I really is annoying. Another thing, too, with a modern game that can be disappointing and annoying, too, is all of the day one patches. You know, there's a lot of these games launch, and they're launched in a broken, buggy mess. Mad Max is a great example. I know my buddy Dean had so many issues with the PlayStation 4 version of Mad Max. The Xbox One version had a lot of issues as well, and they had to release 6 or 7 patches to get that game even running, so it didn't have any of these game-breaking bugs. And so that can be annoying too with modern gaming, is, you know, you plug a game in, you've been excited all day, I want to play it, and then boom, I'm slapped in the face with a 45 gig day one update, and now I've got to wait even longer. And it can depend on the kind of internet you have too. Like, I have pretty good internet. It costs me like $80 a month. I don't have the fastest internet they have available, but I have about the middle of the ground internet, but I've been getting some good speeds. Now, I have a tip to share. If you have noticed like your Xbox is like kind of slow downloading, is find out what kind of modem you have, for one, because I had actually complained to my cable company that my internet seemed kind of slow, and when I was on there with the tech guy, he's talking to me, he's like, okay, let me see what your model is. Like, whoa, dude, you know, you have an old, outdated modem. He's like, well, we actually have new modems that'll be a lot faster for it. He's like, you have 2 options. You can either take it to one of our stores and swap it there, or I can just send you one in the mail, and then there'll be a box for you to send your old modem back with a prepaid label, and you'll have the new one to do. And you don't have to worry about us coming out to install it. We can do it for you, unless you want me to send a technician and then just be longer. I was like, no, dude, I can do it myself. And so they mailed me the new the new modem, and I installed a new modem, and I sent the old one back, and my internet speeds became a lot better, which is great. But then I had a really outdated router that I had been using for years, and I never paid attention enough that was holding me back. You know, I was only downloading like, it was like, you get slow 10, 15, maybe 20 megabytes a second, and it was take forever, you know, hours to install stuff. And I was just like, you know, I'm paying for this high-speed internet. Why the hell am I not getting it? And it never dawned on me that maybe it's my router that was the issue. And I actually found a cool Nighthawk X6 AC3200 tri-band Wi-Fi router, 3.2 gigabyte Wi-Fi speed, a Netgear in the box. I got this at the local thrift store that I've talked about in my videos, where they donate, the proceeds all go to helping cats and dogs and animals in the Humane Society. And got this for, like, I don't know, it was like $10, $15 or something. Now, this is an older one. This is not one of the newer ones. They have even newer ones, and you can get crazy gaming routers. This is an older gaming router, but it works great for me. And my speeds using this have went from that 10, 20 to like 200, 300 megabyte downloads. And so now my games download quickly. They install super fast. And that was the issue. So if you are noticing that your games seem to be downloading slowly and it seems to be just chugging along, maybe it's your router that's the issue. And if you don't have the money to buy a new router, I would recommend then just plug it in directly to the modem without using your router, and just have the Xbox only to download certain stuff. Now, that's not always an option for everybody, but it's one I would recommend. I also recommend, if you can, use a physical hard Ethernet plug-in instead of wireless, because when it's wireless, you know, your speeds are reduced even more. You know, there are fast Wi-Fi signals, but you will not ever get as fast as a wired connection. So I keep my Series X plugged in wired because the download speeds are increased that way. But I noticed that my router was the issue, and the modem. So if you're ever having issues, you know, check with your cable company, your internet provider. Make sure you have the best modem going on. And if you have a router, make sure you have a newer router. You know, you may have to go out and buy one of the new gaming routers to really take full advantage of your internet speeds. So that was one thing too I've noticed with modern gaming that has really helped me now, is having that better router and better modem. But it's still annoying when you want to play a game and you have to wait for a 30-minute download for the game to install, and then you got to wait for the updates and stuff. So that can be kind of frustrating with modern gaming. But, you know, we've all come to understand that's just what it takes with modern gaming. So it can be kind of a slap in the face with these day one updates and patches. And especially if a game is online, one that has like online components to it, you may get updates all the time, constantly, because they're always tweaking stuff. People are finding issues. Like if you play a Call of Duty game or something, you know, there's a lot of multiplayer going on that. So they're always adding and they're tweaking settings in the game and changing weapon stats and adding things to the game. So you will have a lot of updates with that. So it's just an annoying part of modern gaming, but it's something that's part of it that I wanted to mention. Pre-ordering games too, I wanted to talk about that. Some of these modern games, you know, if you don't pre-order them, you might not get them because they're coming out with smaller and smaller print runs. And I got an example for it right here. This came out in the beginning of September, and that was Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun. It was only released for the Nintendo Switch, but it had a really, really small print run for this. All the other versions are digital only. Of course, you can get it on the market, the Nintendo eShop. But if you wanted to get it physically, you know, you had a really hard time with it. I pre-ordered this at GameStop. I paid it off. I wasn't able to actually go to it because I was at my brother's wedding that day, but my buddy Todd went and got it for me at the GameStop. Now, 8 people had pre-ordered a copy for that game, and on launch day, they only got 1 copy in the store. That was it, 1 copy. My buddy was the first person in the store when they opened up, and he got my copy for me, and the guy told him that, you know, he has other people who pre-ordered it, but they're going to have to wait for the next shipment. And so a lot of times, you know, if it's not a big AAA game, it's not a Halo, a Gears of War, a Zelda, a Mario title or something, you know, GameStop may only get 1 or 2 copies, or they might not even get a copy at all, because there have been other games that I bought that I was the only person that they got a copy in for. I have an example here of, do I have it here? Yes. Here it is. Terminator Resistance for the Xbox One. Now, they only got copies in GameStop of people who pre-ordered a copy of this. Super hard and difficult to find a copy if you didn't pre-order it. Now, I'm remembering I did not get a chance to pre-order this, but I did get to go to a GameStop that had a copy left because somebody canceled their pre-order. It was super hard scrambling around to try to find a copy because they keep producing these in less and less quantities. And Microsoft themselves are producing less and less quantities of physical games because they want to push you to the digital one. So there are some of these games like this Terminator game that even to this day is kind of hard to get. And it's still a little pricey to get. But I remember for a while there, everybody was scrambling to get a copy of these games, and it was really expensive online. They're going for over $100 a copy. Now, you can import a copy, but if people wanted the North American copy. But we're getting smaller and smaller print runs for games. So if there's a game out there that you see that's coming out, you may want to buy it. Like, here's a copy of Stray. The PS4 version here was really limited. This was created by I Am 8-Bit. That's a company that releases physical games of a lot of digital titles and stuff. They had an exclusive version of this that came with a slipcover. They also did eventually give copies to Gamefly, and I actually have this copies from Gamefly. I have my other copy still sealed that has the special collector's version that had some extra stuff in it. This one came with some cool art cards in there, which is cool. Really awesome. But this is one of those games down the road. If you feel like you want to be able to play in the future, if you don't have a copy now, you might not be able to buy it for cheap or even be able to find it, because some of these games have just a crazy small print run. I remember my buddy Dean was telling me about that Guns, Gore, and Cannoli game I saw was really cool. It was digital, but there was some very limited, I think Limited Run released them, very limited, and those copies are 150 or 200 bucks online to get a copy. So if you didn't buy that day one, you're kind of shit out of luck. Another one that had kind of a small print run was this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which I was able to get this for a good deal on eBay. And then I did find a Xbox One copy that someone had traded into the GameStop. But, you know, if you're going to GameStop's website and you try to find some of these physical games, they're really hard to find. You'll find like, oh, no one within 100 miles has it, and you can't buy it online, which can suck. So a lot of games are getting really small print runs. So I highly recommend that if there's a game coming out that you really want, that you make sure you pre-order it. Like, example, I pre-ordered the Terminator Resistance Complete Edition. That's for the Xbox Series X only. It's not coming out on PlayStation 5 because they already have their enhanced version that they have. It's not coming out to PC because they already have the content, and it's not coming to PS4, Xbox One. So if you don't have a Series X, you'll never be able to own and play the Complete Edition. There's a digital version, of course, that you can buy, or you can get a physical copy. Now, in North America, there's only a plain base copy coming for the Series X. It is also exclusive to Amazon. They're the only retailer I know that actually have copies of it. There's a collector's edition being released for it as well, but it's exclusive to Europe only. And so I bought the collector's edition, and it's being shipped from the UK. It's going to take a couple weeks to get here because I didn't want to pay for any extra fast shipping. You know, just the regular shipping was fine for me. I also got a really good deal on it too. They had a discount for pre-ordering it early. But that's another game that's going to be hard to get in the future, especially the collector's edition. They're only releasing so many copies of that. And now here's something too interesting about that Terminator Resistance game. Even the US copy is actually coming from a UK seller, a person that makes it there, because that's how limited it's going to be even here in North America. There's a couple different sellers, and I looked them up online, and they're all based in Europe, whether they're Germany or the UK or wherever they're at. They're all show that they're coming from Europe, even for the North American copy. So that's going to be one that's going to be super small print run. I definitely see that going up in value. Now, just so you guys know, and not everybody knows this about the Series X, but Microsoft with their Xbox One and stuff, they don't do region lock anymore. Their games are all the same. So if you buy a European copy, it's going to work the same in your console, whether you have an American console or a European console, unless the specific developer puts a restriction on. Some of them have, but most of them are region free. So if you buy the Terminator Resistance from Europe, put it in your console, you'll be able to play it fine without any issues, which is really awesome thing. I'm really glad that they don't have their consoles region locked unless the developer does. So that is one good thing about Microsoft there. But, you know, having these small print runs really sucks because it just gets less and less copies out there, and that's because people are buying less and less physical copies. I have another example here. This Warhammer 40,000 Shooters Blood and Teeth was also released for the Nintendo Switch, which I have the Nintendo Switch version of this as well. This had a really small print run as well. Now I got it for a pretty good deal thanks to GameFly, and I was able to rent it and then keep it. There are some copies available on eBay still, Amazon, that kind of thing, but you know, maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, this might be really hard to get, and if you don't own it physically, you might not always be able to buy it if they eventually do delist this. So that's just an issue that you can have with digital games. And now some people are talking about, you know, we're seeing the decline of physical media in stores. Like, you know, there's that big announcement. Best Buy is going to stop selling movies and video games. They've already stopped selling CDs. You know, they're not even going to sell them online anymore, so they're getting rid of that. Walmart's talking about getting rid of video games and just selling digital stuff. So you can see that more and more companies are starting to get away from physical medias, and you're only going to be able to buy them online and from mom and pop ones like my local game stores and stuff here. They sell a lot of movies and toys and video games and stuff, and those are going to be your only options. When all these retailers get rid of them, you're not going to have as much access to physical copies. But the reason we're moving into this digital direction is because us as consumers are buying less physical. It was something like 90 or 92% of game sales this year and last year were all digital. And only that small, like 10% of people are actually buying physical copies anymore, because a lot of people are like, you know, I don't really care about a physical copy. Give me my digital one. I don't have to have this take up space, which I can understand. Physical games do take up space on your shelf, And so I can understand people who like having digital-only games as an option, but me personally, I prefer having my physical games. I love holding the case. I like looking at it, reading the artwork. If they come with an art book or an instruction manual, I like to look through it. I just love having a physical copy. But I can see why people like the digital ones. But because of that, you know, they're seeing that there's just no money in physical copies because less and less people are buying them physically. And you can just look at the sales data, you know, reflects that less people are buying games physically. Now, here's something that nobody I ever see talk about with a digital copy and a physical copy is, you know, a lot of times people will tell you that the whole game is not always on the disc. Now, there are games that they are all on there, but some games, I know like that Halo Infinite, the whole game's not even on the disc itself, and people have proved that by not having the internet, plugging the disc in, and it won't let them play the game because they have to go online to finish installing the rest of it. However, one of the big advantages that I like about the physical copies over digital is if I am offline and I plug this disc in, it still lets me play the game offline because this acts as a CD key. You know, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't care about physical because it's literally just a CD key. Well, you know, you just said it, it's a CD key. So instead of having to go online to check if you have the license to play it, this disc as your license. So I had the one day where my internet was down, you know, the cable company had an issue. They were working on it for like 8 hours. There was no internet, and thank God I had a physical disc because this acted as my check for it to prove that I had the license to play it. So that's one big advantage that I never hear anyone talk about with physical games for modern consoles, is that though that access as a CD key is great because you can do it when you're offline. So make sure, yeah, we did that. We talked about that. Now onto the topic of the benefits of owning the physical game. Like I said, you know, plug it in, because I've had issues in the past where I wasn't able to access my content on my Xbox Series X because I forgot to set it as my home Series X console. You can only have one set as that, and because of it, if I'm not online, I can't access my digital content, and because it'll say cannot verify basically that you have the license to it, which sucks. So if you make it your home Xbox, you can, but some people own more than one console. I do myself for the Nintendo Switch. Like, I just bought this Nintendo Switch OLED model for my buddy Todd earlier this year, but my original Nintendo Switch is set as my primary console. So if I want to play Mario Kart 8 on here and play the digital content that I have, the booster course pass, I have to be online. So if I take it out in the world and I'm playing it in the car, it'll say cannot verify that user has access to the license, and that's because it's not set as my primary console. So you have to watch out for that, and that's what can be frustrating with digital only games, is, you know, they have control over when you can access the content because of the licensing issues, and I think it really sucks. Like, if I buy a game, I should be able to play it on 50 Switches if I want to, but I understand why they do that, is because they want to help fight and combat piracy and people buying a game and then just giving it to all their friends to download onto their consoles to play for free without having to buy it. So I can understand why they have it for the piracy thing, but it just really sucks with them having that control over your content. It's one reason why I have a huge movie collection and TV show collection, because, you know, it's nice you have Netflix and Hulu and stuff, but those services don't always have every movie. They don't always keep them because they lose licensing issues. I've talked about this in the past that, you know, I love the original Law and Order, and I was watching that on Netflix, and then one day I went to log on and it was gone because they lost the license to it and they no longer could stream Law and Order, and so I lost access to it. I was in the middle of watching that series. You know, there was 20 seasons, and I lost access to all of it because they no longer had it. And so now a company was dictating to me when I can enjoy my content, and it really pissed me off. Luckily for me, I found a complete DVD set that had all 20 seasons, multiple discs, just hundreds of hours, and I was able to watch the entire Law and Order on my own when I want to. And so I have a lot of TV shows, Vikings, I got The Walking Dead, The Simpsons, tons of movies and stuff. You know, I can watch those anytime I want. I own the DVDs. By Star Trek, I got the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise. I can watch those anytime I want as well. Another thing I love about physical over the digital content is sometimes there is censorship that goes on with movies and stuff. Sometimes the streaming service, the company, whatever, will edit scenes or will completely get rid of an episode. I know some Simpsons episodes were considered controversial. Whatever the subject matter was, the issue is they delisted them from their service because of whatever issue happened or something like that. Give me one moment, guys. I think the maintenance guy is here. Alright, guys. That was the maintenance guy. He was installing our new air filter for our air conditioner heater. So, I was talking about digital games and talking about movies and stuff and like how I have my own access. And then I was talking about how companies, you know, have control over their content and stuff, where they can delist stuff. They also can censor things as well, which I don't like. You know, they can change things in movies. I mean, one of the big examples I know is people remembered that, like the E.T. movie, you know, they thought that the guys having guns was too violent, so they went through and edited the movie and put them with walkie-talkies instead of guns, so there was some censorship there. I remember that, that they took off the ultra-violent version of RoboCop from streaming services, and I don't know if it's still the case, but the only way to get is to get the Blu-ray version of the original RoboCop movie, and you get the ultra-violent with the extra blood and gore and stuff that was in some of the scenes. You know, that was edited out in releases, and I do not like that companies, you know, dictate what content you can have and what content you can view. So there are some censorship and things and delisting that can go on with digital content as well. I do have an example too of a game that got delisted a few years ago because of licensing issues, and that was this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan. The only way to play this now is if you own it physically for the Xbox 360, PS3, PS4, or the Xbox One. And so this goes for about 40 or 50 bucks these days on eBay and online because it got delisted. Now, when I plugged it into my console and it installed, it just played right off. There was no patches even for this game. I don't know if they ever had patches for the game or not, but even the patches have been delisted. So the only way to play this is to have this disc. And when you go in there onto the game, go see in Microsoft Store, it just says this content's not available. So it was completely just erased from the marketplace. And so there are several games that have been delisted, like Activision and other companies, that if you don't have the physical copy, you can't play them anymore. And eventually, you know, we're going to see more and more games going away as they get delisted, which I hate, but that's just how it is, unfortunately. Let's see. Talked about most of these topics here. Here's one, though, that I was talking about that. For me personally, though, with modern gaming, I myself have been finding less and less copies of games, and just finding less games that I'm actually truly interested in. You know, it used to be, especially during 7th Gen Xbox 360, I mean, there'd be like 50 or 100 or more games released in a year that I was excited. And I couldn't buy them all, of course, obviously, because, you know, we didn't have the money to buy, you know, $50, $60 games, you know, 5 of them in a week or something. But, you know, you used to just get a lot more games than that I was interested in. You know, I keep getting less games that I'm interested in because there's so many of them have an online focus, which I'm just not into online gaming anymore. I love my single-player games. You know, give me a Stray, that's a single-player game. You go through the story and stuff over multiplayer. Now, I used to love playing games like Gears of War, Halo and stuff online and play the competitive. You know, I started off in Xbox Live with, you know, Mech Assault and playing those kind of games. You know, I used to love that back in the day. But for me, personally, I'm just not into the online multiplayer anymore. The online gaming is just something I'm not a fan of. And so for me personally, I just find less and less games that I'm interested in. I also don't like games that have single player where you're forced to be online. There was, I think that Redfall game is an example, as I was going to rent it from Gamefly, and I remember it said, must have a constant internet connection in order to enjoy the game. Meaning if you're not online, you can't even play it. So even the single player is tied to an online server. So one day, that eventually will be shut down, and you'll never be able to play that game, and that game will be as useful as a coaster, basically. That's all the disc will be good for. So, I don't like things like that. Just recently, Alan Wake 2 just released on the 27th of October here, just a few days ago. And digital only, not physical at all, which is just a shame, because I loved the original Alan Wake, played it years ago. I even bought the remastered version for Xbox One and played through and beat it twice. I've got the Alan Wake American Nightmare, and I was really excited for the Alan Wake 2, like when they finally were going to make them, because we'd been waiting years, like, yeah, come on, make an Alan Wake, and then they do it. Oh, we're making it digital only, which really sucks, because I wanted a physical copy. And so I have not bought a copy, because you really have to vote with your wallet. If you don't like something, you see something in a game you don't like, you just have to stand your ground and not support it. And I don't like that it doesn't have a physical release, so I'm just not planning to buy it. It's a shame. I really wanted to play Alan Wake 2, but it being digital only just was a big turnoff for me as far as the game. And I've heard that people are loving it, though it was launched with bugs and issues, which modern gaming, is an issue. Saying we'll talk about that topic in just a second. But being launched broken and buggy messes and stuff just is annoying. But that was one big example right there with Microsoft and Remedy and Shelf, digital only, no physical copy. And depending on how well this sells and the sales figures, this could be the catalyst for other games. I actually have an example here of something that that went digital only, so I had to change it over to a PS4 copy. And you guys will see this in my next pickup video, but this is the Daymare 1994 Sandcastle Collector's Edition for PS4. This was, originally, I had this pre-order for the Xbox Series X and Xbox One version. But randomly, GameStop called me up, and the manager there told me that, hey, Jeremy, sorry to inform you, we don't know why, but they're not making a Series X Xbox physical copy. It's digital only. If you'd like to come in, you can change your pre-order to the PS4 version or PS5 version, but the Xbox versions are all gone now. And so I still wanted to play this game, and I have the first Daymare games collector's edition for the PS4, so I just changed my pre-order to the PS4 version. Now, I was the only person who pre-ordered this, and they literally got one copy in. So there was another example of Microsoft, must have decided, that company decided that they didn't want to make that small AA game as a physical copy, so they got rid of it, and now it's digital only. So there was another example of a game that came out that was digital only. Now, there's been a lot more backlash I've noticed from people getting upset that they aren't having physical copies, but it's almost like it's a little too late. So many of us stopped buying games physically, and so now we're at where we're at because we dictated that future of digital only because we were not buying games. I mentioned that only less than 10% of physical sales of games are physicals, less than 10%, 92% are all digital. And so we have brought this future on ourselves, sadly, and now the companies are reaping the benefits of it, because why would they want to sell you a game once when they can keep selling you the subscription service? And so I do eventually see gaming going to 100% digital only. It's an inevitable future that's going to happen someday, and that's when I say I'm done with modern gaming, and I just play what I have, because I have a massive collection already built up of games here for many game consoles and stuff that'll keep me busy until the day I die. I have more games than I'll be able to actually beat. But I love having the option that I can play any of these games that I want to. I have the option to watch any of these movies, TV shows for DVD and Blu-ray, VHS that I have. I love having the option to be able to enjoy the media when I want to. But that is how my thoughts about, modern gaming and our digital-only future coming around. And it sucks that companies like Best Buy and Walmart and Target and all these companies are getting away from physical media, and eventually we're going to be digital. I know people are saying, oh, it's never going to happen, but unfortunately that's the writing I'm seeing on the wall. And once we go down that route, that's when I exit out and just stick to what I already have. It'll suck, like with Alan Wake 2, you just got to stand your ground, and I can't support the digital only version, so I just won't buy it. It sucks. I really wanted to play Alan Wake 2, but sometimes you have to just make a stand and just not be part of what you see as a problem. be part of the solution by just not contributing to that issue. So if they ever do release a physical version of Alan Wake 2, that's when I'll buy one and then play it. But otherwise, I'll probably never get to play that game, and it sucks because I'm a huge fan of Alan Wake. But, you know, I just got to stick to my guns and just stick to what I believe. And like I said, not everybody's into physical games like myself and don't care about it, you know. I think it's great that they have digital games. I think it's great they have Game Pass. I just would like to have options, you know. Have digital and physical, so you can have the best of both worlds. If you want to get digital, you can. If you want to get physical, you can. I think you should have options, but unfortunately the companies don't think that way, and that's where we're moving to. And sadly for me, that's where I'll just be ending. But like I said, you know, I mentioned to you guys, like, you know, I keep finding less and less games for me every year, so I only maybe pre-order at most and buy maybe like 5 or 6 games a year, sometimes even less than that, depending on what's coming out this year. Like, I didn't really pre-order that many games this year, though I've been going back and buying older games for modern consoles, but I'm not always pre-ordering games because I don't always find ones that I'm interested in. And sometimes, you know, they just add an online gimmick or something to the game, and so I just can't support it at that point. But those are my thoughts, guys, just on what I've seen with modern gaming and small print runs and digital only future and stuff. I know this is kind of a longer video. Just I had a lot of stuff to talk on this subject, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. So, you know, let me know, what are your guys' thoughts on modern gaming? You know, what are the things you like about it? What are things you don't like about it? What are your guys' views on physical collecting? Are you guys big into collecting physical games like me, or do you prefer digital games? Are you a big fan of Game Pass and stuff? Like I said, I understand the draw, the appeal of digital games, the appeal of Game Pass and stuff, and subscription service gaming and stuff. For me personally, it's just not for me, but I can understand other people who love it. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, though. Feel free to leave a comment sharing your guys' thoughts. If you guys want to film a video response, I would love to watch that and check it out. I just ask that you please let me know about that video response, as I'll post a link to your video response as a comment. I want to thank you guys so much for your support of my channel over the years. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, have a wonderful day, and sleep it. We'll see you guys next time.